Okay, so I found this cheap looking clone baby at Dollar Tree the other day, and I decided to buy it and turn it into a warrior ghoul. So grab your glue gun and your paints. It's time for us to be too ghoul for school. First, take the baby and cut it up at the knee and elbow sections. I used a razor saw because I'm fancy like that, but a pair of scissors or hobby knife will do just fine. Break off the glue gun and silicone glue pad so that it can heat up on high for a few minutes while you gather your materials. Take a look around and see if you can find some twine, some shoelaces, some old rags, whatever you don't mind sacrificing for your creation. Your results may be completely different from mine, but that's okay. I encourage you to be creative and make your own design. Note, I used a sheet of craft foam for the tunic on my ghoul, but you can also use cloth or even crumple up a thin sheet of cardboard until it's pliable like weathered, rigid leather. Your glue gun should be nice and hot and ready to go by now. Begin gluing in a swirly pattern around the head and body parts that will be exposed. There's no need to coat the entire body since most of it will be covered by makeshift clothing. These Dollar Tree hair curlers are ideal for adding length to the arms and legs. They also help bulk up the missing areas of the doll's appendages and help it appear less baby-like. Take some aluminum craft wire to make the armature wires that will slide into the foam curler segments. Once you slide the wires in, trim them at the very end of where each wire ends. Glue each piece inside the feet and arms, then set them aside to cool down. Now it's time to remove the mouth. Carve it out like you would a jack-o'-lantern. I decided to take the mouth and create a jawline with it by reattaching it with some hot glue. Continue adding swirly patterns to the head and torso. Move the glue around randomly for a more organic look. Here's a tip: run the hot glue under cold water in between coats to help speed up the layering process. Okay, now that you've been farting around with that for a while, the arms and legs should be ready to be reattached Frankenstein style. There's nothing like making toys ugly, let me tell you. Try not to use too much hot glue. A couple of pumps should be enough to reattach the arms and legs. I like to use cotton facial cleaning pads for batting and bulking up the missing sections on the arms and legs. This helps to maintain some posability to the figure. Glue and fold 4 round pads for the knee sections and to bulk up each foot. Then cut another round in half and glue each piece into the elbow sections. So far, so good. Let's keep going. I'm using cut up strips of burlap ribbon for the arm wraps because I just hate to waste material. But you can also cut up some old rags or even shop towels if you'd like. No one will judge you. Glue each strip in place, then wrap them around the entire length of the arms and glue as you go. Try not to burn your fingers like I always do. Repeat the same steps for the legs. I found this ropey craft wire at Dollar Tree and I felt that it would be perfect for this build. If you don't have this material, you can always use shoelaces. Just make sure no one else in the house needs them. I had to crimp and bend the ropey wire into the shape of the calves and feet before going over them with hot glue. Oh man, look at those pudgy feet. He'll never be able to stand with those sausage links. Let's even them out. Fill in the heels and bottoms of his feet with hot glue and carefully stand him on the pad in the position desired. I use a silicone pad for all my hot glue crafts, but any slick non-porous surface should do. Just make sure it's not a kitchen counter or coffee table. You're gonna have a bad day. Look at those pudgy hands. We can't use those Michelin Man hands in this build. Let's bulk those up with some hot glue as well. Sweet. I then cut an empty pill bottle in half and scribbled out a rough template for the teeth. Now I used a low temp setting for better control of the glue, as I used a dab and pull technique to create each tooth. I then went back over them with a red colored hot glue to create the gnarly gums. Looking back, I should have prepped the surface of the pill bottle halves with petroleum jelly for easier removal. Build and sculpt the face however you see fit. Just make sure you give him a more pronounced jaw, otherwise he'll just look like a possessed Gerber baby. To make creepy nails, set your glue gun to a low temp setting, then dab and pull the glue to the desired length. You can clean them up later. This is where it kind of gets disturbing. I painted the interior of the mouth, eyes, and exposed areas a dark brown. I left the original eyes inside the head of my first ghoul because I was in a hurry. However, you could always take a screwdriver and fish them out if you want to save the eyes for future builds. I took a couple of acrylic cabochons and glued them into the eye sockets to give him sort of a zombified look. Just make sure they are nice and level and staring ahead. You don't want your ghoul to be cockeyed, unless of course that's, you're into that sort of thing. Cut a strip of foam the width of the shoulders and make sure it's long enough to cover both the groin and the backside. Then cut a neck hole and shred the tunic with scissors until it just covers the groin and backside without covering up the legs and shoulders. I prefer to use thin craft foam because it is so easy to manipulate with heat, and it's also cost effective. For the weathering, I roughed up the tunic with a sharp sculpting tool to add detail. Take a shoelace and wrap it around the waist to secure the tunic in place. Trim it to the desired length. Finally, reattach the head. From there, I took my pocket torch and carefully melted and warped the tunic. Be careful that you don't burn your house down. Insurance companies don't cover stupidity. I had a bunch of vending charms in storage, so I broke out the box and searched for one that could pass for a magical golden talisman. I then took an acrylic scrapbooking gem and pasted it on the talisman. The first ghoul I made had a gold chain attached to his talisman, but I ran out of chain, so I improvised a bit with hemp twine instead. Now it's time for paint. I used oil-based paints diluted with mineral spirits because I wanted to keep the slight translucence of the glue for a more skin-like effect. Use base coats for skin tone, then add shadowing and highlights for depth. Continue adding details to the head by creating eyelids, lips, and teeth. I even added a few boils for grossness factor. And now, your warrior ghouls are ready to menace any challenger that crosses their path. Well, my friends, thank you for joining me on another Laser Brain tutorial. I wish you all the very best in life. Be well, be happy, and never stop being creative. Caburn out.